Om Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swaparantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषाभानु सुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमः विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणि प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवारि पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Haribol. Okay, today we start the final chapter of this book. It's about psychoanalysis. And the first philosopher is Sigmund Freud. Shama Sundar Das. Freud saw a conflict between the primal self, which he called the id, and the ethical self, the ego. It is the id that attempts to gratify all needs. And it's, is this like ID? It is the ID that attempts to gratify all needs. And its basic motivating force is the libido, the sexual instinct. So this was the sexual philosopher who always connected everything to this. When the ID comes in contact with the senses, the ego is formed. The superego is modified part of the ego, which is formed through experiences related to one's parents. The superego is characterized by the feelings of conscience, and it is the principal repressive factor in the ego striving to curb the primitive, sex-motivated, lawless tendencies of the ID. Prabhupada. We also agree that everyone has a sexual appetite, and it is stated in Shastras that sex is the principal bond to the material world. Actually, everyone has a tendency not only for sex, but for intoxication and meat eating also. These tendencies are inherent in the living entity. According to the Shastras, we are allowed sexual intercourse in marriage, but we are prohibited from having any other sex. Krishna says, Dharma viruddha bhuteshu kamosmi. I am sex life which is not contrary to religious principles. Bhagavad Gita 7:11. This means that sex life has to be regulated. Of course, people have perverted tendencies to have sex against the Vedic injunctions. The Vedas give regulations for all undesirable activities, not only sex, but meat eating and intoxication as well. The idea is to restrict these anarthas, these unwanted things, so that the living entity may eventually be freed of them. In the conditioned state, everyone creates a false ego thinking, I am American, I am Hindu, I am Christian, Muslim, Russian, I am human being, I am this body, I am this and that. This is false ego. Superior ego says, I am Brahman, I am eternal servitor of Krishna. If we understand the self in this way, false ego automatically vanishes. Our senses are gross, but they are controlled by the mind. The mind is part of the subtle body, and the mind in turn is controlled by the intelligence. The intelligence is controlled by the ego, and if this ego is false, the entire structure is false. False ego thinks, I am this body. This is false identification. When the ego is thus deluded, everything subordinate to it is also the illusion, because everything else is standing on a false platform. Therefore, the Vedas advise us to come to the platform of knowledge. This is called Brahmagyana. As Bhagavad Gita states, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na sochati na kankshati samah sarveshu bhutesu mad bhaktim labate param. One who is thus transcendentally situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman. He never laments nor desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. Bhagavad Gita 1854. When we come to the knowledge that we are not the body, but spirit soul, we immediately become happy. All the neuroses and problems that fruit is trying to cure are due to false ego. When we understand our actual position, the blazing fire of material existence is immediately extinguished. Freud is describing this blazing fire, and he is trying to treat people within this fire. But how can a person be happy when there is fire all about? It is the fire itself that must be extinguished, or the person himself must be removed from the fire. Then there will be happiness. Yes, this is really common these days, especially in West, this psychoanalysis. They think that with this therapy, they will solve all the problems. They will put they will make anyone a therapeutist, or what's the word, and then they will put that person to try to figure out the past of the who is having problems. Then they go through his memories. Oh, did you experience something horrible when you were a child? And like this, they try to make a solution. But I've just noticed, because my many of friends have gone to these therapies, and I've just noticed that they use a lot of money, like in 1 year, 2,000 euros, 3,000 euros. And at the end, they didn't learn anything. They are still in anxiety. They tried many different pills. There is nothing, no success or anything. And they become just addicted to the therapy itself, even though it's not giving them any process, like progress. And this is really common in West. Everyone goes to the therapy and they talk to each other that, oh, you should maybe go to the therapy. It has become, a trend. It's a big trend here. And in social media, everyone is speaking about their therapy experiences. That, oh, it was really beneficial for me. I got to talk about my traumas and all this. But they don't understand that the trauma is there from millions of lifetimes. If you got shot 100 lives ago, you experience now the same trauma. It's not gonna go away that you remember some horrible things that happened in your childhood. So this whole Freud and his other friend, I forgot his name. So they have propagated this nonsense philosophy, and the whole West is following now this. I recall some years ago in India, when a criminal was pleading insanity to a murder charge, a psychiatrist was called to judge whether this person was sane during the time of the murder. The psychiatrist said, I have examined many people, and I have concluded that more or less everyone is insane. If his innocence depends upon his sanity, then I would say that he should be excused. But as far as I know, everyone is more or less insane. This is also our conclusion. Whoever is infected with this material nature is more or less insane. When the living entity takes on the material body, he must be crazy. Therefore, everyone is speaking in different ways. Okay, one more page. Then we can change. Shama Sundar Das. Freud believed that painful or traumatic experiences, often repressed by forgetfulness, lie deep in our subconsciousness. By recalling them, we may be able to overcome the neuroses that they inflict. Yeah, this is the nonsense that I don't understand, because even if you remember that you were beaten up when you were a child and all this, your mother treated you badly and someone did terrible things to you, what is going to help? What's the help? You're just going to be more anxious remembering those things. So this therapy is nonsense, actually. And what they do, First, they try that process and it never works. The person just becomes more anxious, remembering all the things that happened. And then they pump him with all the medicines that he cannot remember. They try to artificially slow down the mind with some pills. And then they become like vegetables. They cannot understand anything. Our process is different. When you give a man a better thing, he will forget inferior things. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha. Rasa varjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. The embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, though the taste for sense object remains. Ceasing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste is fixed in consciousness. Fear is created when we are not in Krishna consciousness. This is characteristics of the conditioned soul. As soon as we become Krishna conscious, our fears and anxieties automatically vanish. Narayana para sarvena kutaschana bibyati svargapa varga narakesh api tulyartha darshina. Devotees solely engage in the devotional service of the Supreme Person of Godhead, Narayana, never fear any condition of life. For them, the heavenly planets, liberation, and the hellish planets are all the same, for such devotees are interested only in the service of the Lord. 6:17:28. Oh, we have it here. Haribol. When we are God conscious, we do not fear anything. Although Prahlad Maharaj's demonic father threatened him with death and put him in all kinds of frightful circumstances, Prahlad remained quiet and peaceful. Indeed, his father asked him, Prahlad, how is that you are so proud and fearless when I'm trying to chastise you? Prahlad replied, the person who gives you your power is the same person who is protecting me. Forgetfulness of painful experiences is in itself artificial. People forget because they are not properly trained. There is no usefulness in forgetting painful experiences. When we are Krishna consciousness, we are not afraid to remember them. We actually thank Krishna and say, Krishna, you are so kind that you have saved me from many frightful situations. Now I am sure that I am pure and I am pure and I have my safety in you. So Krishna consciousness is the solution, because then when you remember those things, you won't feel the pain of those experiences. Otherwise, when you remember them with the therapeuta, you're going to have a panic attack and you're going to go crazy. Krishna conscious man is not frightened by any of his past experiences. Rather, he laughs at them, thinking, what a fool I was to have been afraid of all these things. Haribol. Okay, who wants to continue from this part? And Hare Krishna, Lebohang Prabhu, Dandat Pranam, Jai Shla Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Haribol. So Shrikant Prabhu, do you want to continue? Because you got...
Yes, sure, Prabhu.
Yes, thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So, Shyamachandra Dasa, Freud did not believe that forgetfulness is artificial. He felt that it is a natural instinct to forget painful experiences. Srila Prabhupada, well, that is so. For instance, when you were in the womb of your mother, you were in a very painful situation. Now you have forgotten that experience, and that forgetfulness is certainly natural. It is a fact that you were confined to a womb, but you cannot remember this. When you think about it, you can understand what a horrible situation that was. However, the Shastras say that even though you have forgotten this, you have not escaped that situation. You are waiting for a similar painful experience. Freud contends that anxieties and tensions are caused by the ID's primitive instincts that are always forcing us to act contrary to the rational moral ego and superego. Srila Prabhupada, anxieties will continue as long as you are in the material condition. In conditioned life, you cannot be freed from anxiety. Shyamachandra Dasa, is this because we are always desiring something and being frustrated? Srila Prabhupada, frustration must be there because you do not desire the right thing. You're desiring something that is not permanent, and that this is a cause for anxiety. We wish to live forever, but we have accepted this temporary material body. Therefore, there is no question of living forever. We are always anxious because we fear that death is coming. We fear that death is destruction of the body, and this is the main cause of our anxiety. Anxiety is due to our acceptance of something which will not exist, which is temporary. Shyamasundar Dasa. The ego that develops strategies of defense against its anxiety engendered by the ID. Whenever there is a strong animalistic desire, the ego represses it with the ego represses it for self-preservation. Repression is always there. If we are deceased, the doctor advises us to not to take solid food. We have to repress our appetite. In the system of brahmacharya, the brahmachari represses his desire for sex. This is called tapasya, voluntary repression. Of course, this is very difficult without some better engagement. Therefore, as I said, we have to replace our inferior engagement with the superior one. When you are captivated by seeing the beautiful form of Krishna, you naturally no longer desire to see the beautiful form of a young woman. Samasundara Dasa. The Buddhists speak not only of the repression of desires but of their extinction. Srila Prabhupada, we don't advocate that there will always be desires and sometimes we have to repress them. My Guru Maharaj used to say that as soon as you rise from bed, you should beat your mind 100 times with your shoes, and when you go back to bed at night, you should beat your mind 100 times with a broomstick. In this way, you will be able to control your mind. Well, wild tigers have to be controlled by depression, but when the tigers are under control, there is no question of depression. Then you can play with the tigers, and then they will be your friends. So depression is not always bad. I agree with Dasa. Freud considered sexual depression to be harmful, but sublimation to be often beneficial. He didn't advocate total sexual freedom. Rather, he suggested that instead of trying to deny the sex drive, we should try to redirect it perhaps to some artistic activity or some positive study. Srila Prabhupada. This means diverting our attention, and that is recommended in the Vedic culture for the brahmachari. If we are taught Krishna from the very beginning of life, we will forget sex. Even if an adult takes a Krishna consciousness seriously, he can also forget sex. That is experience of Yamunacharya. Yadavadi mama cheta Krishna padara vinde. Since I have been engaged in Krishna consciousness, every time I think of sex, I spit. If we engage in sex without restriction, we eventually become impotent. That is nature's way of punishment. Sex cannot be artificially repressed, but there is a proper training process. I agree with Asa. Freud believed that sex could not be stamped out, and if that one tried, it would manifest itself in undesirable neurosis. Srila Prabhupada. He did not know the training process of Krishna consciousness according to our philosophy. As long as we have sexual inclinations, we have to accept a material body and become entangled in the miseries of material existence. However, there is such a thing as spiritual life, and if we are trained spiritually, we will no longer be bothered by material desires. I agree with Dasa. In exploring the realm of infantile sexuality, Freud discovered a definite sexual nature in the early stages of childhood. He concluded that sexual activities in childhood were normal, and this led him to write that in a normal sex life, no neurosis is possible. Srila Prabhupada, it all depends on the child's training. If the child is trained as a brahmachari, he will have no inclination for sex. Sometimes a father enjoys sex before his children, and the children imitate. It is the nature of the child to imitate, especially his parents. According to Vedic civilization, as soon as a child is 4 or 5 years old, he is sent to Gurukula, where he is disciplined. There, he practically forgets sex life, but when he becomes a young man, he may naturally have a little tendency for sex, and if this is the case, the guru suggests marriage. If, on the other hand, one can perfectly control his sexual tendencies, he can become a sannyasi. My Guru Maharaj, for instance, never married. This is all a matter of education.
Yes, Prabhu, this is nice point here that the guru suggests marriage, because many time
Yes, Prabhu.
we get some new persons joining and they ask that, oh, should I get married or should I become brahmachari? The guru actually decides it if you should get married. Other than that, you should stay brahmachari.
If he has no spiritual knowledge, then he becomes a grihamedi.
Yes, bro.
Yes, and now these days almost all the grihastas are grihameris.
So,
Yes.
Prabhu, in that case, like the guru would find, in the absence of the guru, like the obviously the Diksha guru would understand whether so and so person is actually interested in getting married.
Yes, Prabhu. There was also some in Pondicherry temple. Also, Prahlad Prabhu knows who should get married. And for example, Bajahari Prabhu, he went to temple and he wasn't long time brahmachari there and he got married. But others like Rishikesh Prabhu, Shama Govinda Prabhu, they're no question of becoming married. So Prahlad Prabhu
Right.
also
Yeah.
knows this.
Yes, Prabhu.
Were we here?
Shyamachandra Dasa. Freud believed that many of our present unconscious wishes and conflicts have their origins and in these infantile experiences. Srila Prabhupada, that may be, but you are not going to be infant again. So why not forget all this? After this life, you will be placed in the womb of another mother, and all of those experiences will happen again. It is therefore the duty of the Guru and the parents to save the living entity from rebirth. Guru nasasyat swajano nasasyat Pita nasasyach janani nasasyat nasasyat Daivam natatsyan napatischa sasyan namochayed yasampute mrityum. How do you sing this tune, Prabhu? You sing nicely.
Guru न सस्यात् स्वजनो न सस्यात् पिता न सस्यात् जननी न सस्यात् दैवं न तत्स्यात् न पतिश्च च स्यात् न मोक्षयेद्यः सपेतमृत्युम्.
So nice, Prabhu. I learned that tune
Prabhu,
from you.
I also want the skills of singing that, hey?
What, Prabhu?
I want the skills of singing the Sanskrit language.
Yes, Prabhu, this is the 12 syllable one. This is this is like the second most basic tune. So you will learn it when you
Okay.
go through the sloka learning or the sloka course.
Try to recite the shlokas when you read the Bhagavad Gita. That may help.
Yes, Prabhu. And there is not many of these verses in Bhagavad Gita because this is usually it's the same tune always in Bhagavad Gita. There is few of these long ones, but this is usually in
Yeah.
Bhagavatam.
Is it the same as Brahma Samhita?
No,
No,
that's longer. That's even
that's
longer.
long. Govindam Adi Purusham Tam Aham Bhajami.
Yes. There is usually three basic ones. It is like the general one from Bhagavad Gita, the short one. Then there is this. This is like the middle one, middle sized, and then the Govinda Madi Purusham. That's still like the longest common one.
Oh. And you remember and Prabhu, you remember you said you're gonna try and find the, what is it? Is it the sloka learning made
Yes,
by Tadvid Prabhu?
yes, Prabhu. There is the. I think I sent it to you, but maybe your account got deleted.
Yeah, yeah, it was the first time.
Yeah, I need to send it again.
Yes, yes, Prabhu. Because I think it's very important.
Yes, Prabhu. Here this actually. Yeah, before this I didn't understand anything. I was trying to
Oh,
understand how they know when it's which tune, and then in
yeah, yeah.
then in some of these, I think it was this how to understand. Then Tatvai Prabhu explained how you count the syllables, and then I understood
Okay.
how I count them, and then I
Oh,
started to practice.
I
Yeah,
think
please
in the
send them.
same series, he has some episode where he talks about the tunes.
Yes,
I don't
Prabhu.
know, Prabhu. So maybe you have some example lyrics you can share later, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. There is the notion. Let's see if it's here. Here's some sloka.
Yeah, Sanskrit sloka tunes page.
Yeah, it's this notion. Yeah, from here I counted how many.
Yeah, this is
There's
this
eight.
is the first link that you send it. It
Yes.
had this.
So here is all
Oh,
the
nice.
tunes.
This is very
Oh,
good,
is it
Prabhu.
in the
Thank you.
description box?
What, Prabhu?
Is the sloka, is this like this thing that I see in front of me? Is it in the description box of
Yes,
any
Prabhu.
type of video?
Yes, Prabhu. It's in the Sloka learning course description box.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. You can
देहिनोऽस्मिन्
continue.
यथा देहे कौमारं यौवनं जरा तथा देहान्तरप्राप्तिर्धीरस्तत्र न मुह्यति.
This is the basic one. This is the middle one.
Okay.
This is 11 and 12 syllables that we just sang.
Is there more than 12?
कविं पुराणम् अनुशासितारम् अणोरणीयांसम् अनुस्मरेद्यः सर्वस्य धातारम् अचिन्त्यरूपम् आदित्यवर्णं तमसः परस्तात्.
And this is 12 and 11 syllables. And then this the
Oh.
Brahma Samhita. If you learn
So
this,
12 is the highest.
yes, Prabhu, this is like the longest.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu,
वेणुं
for sharing.
क्वणन्तमरविन्ददलायताक्षं बर्हावतं समसिताम्बुदसुन्दराङ्गम्.
And how I learned most of the tunes is when I was hearing this. When you listen to Brahma Samhita,
Yes, Prabhu.
there is almost all the tunes. They
miksi kannattaa myydä Pinterest?
They come in a cycle.
Do you know it now by now, Prabhu? Brahma Samhita Sloka.
No, Prabhu. I just know the few verses. I just know a few verses from there.
Okay.
Like Ishvara Paramah Krishna Satchidananda Vigrahana Adiradir Govinda. These like basic.
Oh. For me, in order to grasp it, I need to listen to it over and over, and then study it.
Yes, Prabhu.
अद्वैतमच्युतमना
Here is one short one.
सर्वकारणकारणम् चिन्तामणि
Then there is this
प्रसद्मसुकल्पवृक्ष लक्षावृतेषु सुरभिरभिपालयन्तं लक्ष्मी सह.
Okay, I'll find the
पुरुषं.
I was meaning, but we can continue reading. No?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Appreciate it.
Yes, where do you leave, Prabhu? I think after the sloka.
Yes, Prabhu. Janma Mrityu.
One who cannot deliver is dependent from the path of repeated birth and death should never become a spiritual master, a father, a husband, a mother, or a worshipable demigod. Bhagavatam 5.5.18. Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi. At the time of death, we will again experience this horrible situation. We will again have to enter a womb, be confined, and undergo birth. Whether we forget these experiences or not, we will have to undergo them again and again if we do not become Krishna conscious. Shyama Sundara Das. Freud felt that most of our problems, which are sexual in nature, can be cured by recalling painful experiences and objectively analyzing them. That's very...
Yeah, this is what they do.
It's like a philosophical speculation. Is it same as philosophically speculating from? That's the first change in realization.
Yes, Prabhu. They sit down together with the therapeutic and then they speculate together.
Yes, Prabhu. Srila Prabhupada, we must understand why the sex problem is there. If we tolerate the little itching sensation, we will be spared much pain. Yan maitunadi grahamedi sukam hi tucham kandu yanena karayor iva dukka dukkam. Sex life is compared to the rubbing of two hands to relieve an itch. Grahamedi's households without spiritual knowledge think that this itching is the greatest platform of happiness, although it is actually a source of distress. Bhagavatam 7.9.45. When ordinary men are overly attached to materialistic life, their only happiness is sexual intercourse. The Shastras say that happiness derived from sexual intercourse is very, very insignificant. Indeed, it is not even happiness. At best, it may be considered a 10th class happiness because people have no idea of the happiness of Krishna consciousness. They think that sex is the highest happiness. But if we analyze it, what kind of happiness is it? When we have an itch, we scratch it and feel some pressure. But after that pleasure passes, the effects are abominable. The itch becomes worse. The Shastras tell us that if we try to tolerate this itching sensation, we will be spared a great deal of pain. that this is possible if we practice this Krishna consciousness. Shyamachandra Dasa. Freud believed that neurosis disorders, anxieties, and frustrations have their origin in repression. Srila Prabhupada. And I'm telling you that all these are due to sex. But we are not advocating repression. We give facility in the form of a wife. The sex impulse is to be directed to the wife. Shyamachandra Dasa. But Freud insisted that the sex impulse is present at the very beginning of life. Srila Prabhupada. We also admit that. We say that as soon as the living being is embodied, he experiences hunger and sex. Why is that? Ahara nidra vyavaha. We find these impulses even in animals. These drives are not already there. What is the use in philosophizing about them? Shyamasundara Dasa. Through psychoanalysis, pent-up emotions can be released and the original shock mitigated by remembering and confessing. Srila Prabhupada. But what guarantee is there that we will not receive another shock? The living entity is receiving shock after shock. You try to cure him of one and another comes. It is a fact that material life is painful. As soon as you receive this material body, you must suffer the threefold miseries. Everyone is seeking happiness, but unless materialistic life is stopped, unless we put an end to birth, old age, disease, and death, there is no question of happiness. Materialistic life is a disease, and Vedic civilization attempts to cure this disease. Our program is total cure, no more shock. Fruit's treatment is useless because he cannot guarantee that there will not be another shock. If you are situated in Krishna consciousness, the worst type of misery may face you, and you will not be disturbed. You will not experience any shock at all. Freud was trying to cure his patients of the results of some shock they experienced years ago. But there is no guarantee that a similar shock will not come again. Rather, the living entity will receive one shock after another after another. Devi hi esha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mameva ye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. This divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. Bhagavad Gita 7.14. As soon as we try to solve one problem, another problem comes, then another. If we are in Krishna consciousness, there are no more shocks. Yamachandra Dasa. Truth believe that our present personality is greatly influenced by our sexual experiences in infancy and childhood. Srila Prabhupada. Therefore, we are trying to retrain our boys as brahmacharis. Of course, there is a tendency for sex, but by practicing brahmacharya, by diverting our attention to Krishna, there will be very little chance that a shock will come about. If the Vedic system is followed by human society, these shocks will not be there. Agriva Dasa. Freud also tied infantilism in with the religious impulse. He wrote, psychoanalysis, which has taught us the intimate connection between the father complex and the belief in God, has shown us that the personal God is psychologically nothing but an exalted father. Youthful persons lose their religious belief as soon as the authority of the father breaks down. Thus, Freud sees God as the father figure arising out of the helplessness experienced by the little child. Srila Prabhupada, how can a little child invent his father? Why was he not born of his father? And how can he abandon the idea of his father? Without a father, how can one come into being? Even Freud had a father, grandfather, a great grandfather, and so on back. We speak of God as he is as the first father because there is no one beyond him. Aigriva Dasa. Still, Freud considers him belief in God as infantile. In the future of an illusion, he writes, man cannot remain a child forever. He must venture at last into the hostile world. Instead of continuing to dwell in such a nursery, man should try to rid himself of the psychic crutch of religion. Srila Prabhupada, what is his definition of childishness? Everyone must be a child and everyone must have a father. Yes, we cannot deny our biological father, we cannot deny the ultimate supreme father. Agriva. It is not that he is denying biological father, but the idea of a supreme father which he felt arose out of man's initial helpless state. Srila Prabhupada, helplessness is always there because the threefold miseries will always exist in material life. There will always be miseries arising from the body and mind, miseries inflicted by other living entities, and natural catastrophes. In addition, there is always birth, old age, disease, and death. It is only a fool or a rascal who hopes against hope and makes plans to overcome all these difficulties. However, we may plan nature is so strong that it will smash our plans to pieces with a kick of death. Man hopes against hope to adjust material things so that he can be happy in this world, but this is foolishness. Man is helpless at every step. Froude felt that belief in God, that Father is so patently infantile, so incongruous with reality, that to one whose attitude to humanity is friendly, it is painful to think that the great majority of mortals will never be able to rise above this view of life. Srila Prabhupada. So, what is this reality? Belief in God may be infantile to him, but what is he except a child? He also makes plans, and that in itself is childish. How is it that he is more than a child? Can he give an ultimate solution that will rid man of his helplessness? Hagirivadasa. Well, he personally hoped that psychoanalysis would provide the answers. Srila Prabhupada. How can a common man understand psychoanalysis? The fact is that there is a supreme controller who is present everywhere. Psychoanalysis should begin with this point. Why is he defying this fact? He's putting it nicely. Agrivadasa. He sincerely believed that the maturation process necessarily entails ridding oneself of religion. He writes, if one attempts to assign religion its place in man's evolution, it seems not so much to be a lasting acquisition as a parallel to the neurosis which the civilized individual must pass through on his way from childhood to maturity. Srila Prabhupada, he has reached this conclusion because he has seen so many sentimental religions. But first of all, he must understand what religion actually is. Religion is not possible without an understanding of God, and religion without God cannot truly be called a religion. According to the Vedic system, religion refers to the orders of God. Therefore, if we have no conception of God, how we cannot be said to have a religion. If we do not know God or his nature, how can we know the orders God is giving? Agrivadasa. It has often been noted, initially by Jung, that Fred tried to repress religious feelings within himself. The letter he once confided, I cannot rid myself of certain materialistic prejudices, and I would carry them over into the research of the occult. Yeah, Prabhupada, religion is neither occult nor obscure. Of course, everything is obscure for an unintelligent person who has no idea of either God or religion. Agrivadasa. In the same letter, Froude continues, thus I am entirely incapable of considering the survival of the personality after death, even as a mere scientific possibility. I think, therefore, it is better if I continue confining myself to psychoanalysis. Srila Prabhupada. But if he cannot understand the eternity of the soul, he will be deficient in psychoanalysis as well. Even within one lifetime, he can see that the body changes while the soul remains the same. We go through the changes of childhood, youth, manhood, middle age, and old age, but the soul, the person, is always there. Agrivadasa. In Beyond the Pleasure Principle, Froude theorizes on the death instinct, equating a child's fondness is to repeat a certain act that gives him pleasure with the tendency to restore a previous state of affairs. He concludes that if instincts aim at the past, they would necessarily tend to regress to the prenatal state. This is a desire to return to the womb that Freud wrote to write. The goal of all life is death. For him, death is a cessation of suffering. Srila Prabhupada, if this is the case, why are people afraid of death? Why do people go to a doctor when they fear some disease? If death is ultimate happiness, why do people try to avoid it? Agrivadasa. Once after an argument with Jung, Froude fainted, and his words were, when he came to wear, how sweet it must be to die. Srila Prabhupada, now, what pleasure does one derive from being dead? What is the pleasure of extinction? That is the pleasure of a stone. Agrivadasa. Well, he did speak of return to the quintessence of the inorganic world. Srila Prabhupada, then why bothering philosophizing or psychoanalyzing? Just commit suicide and become like a stone. Why take so much time? If it is better to die, then become a stone and be happy. If ultimate happiness is extinction, then why write so many books? Dasa. Fruit considers the quietude that follows the sexual act to be very much like death, because desires are extinguished. Thus, sleep often follows sexual intercourse. In this sense, The pursuit of pleasure is a drive to extinction. Srila Prabhupada, if this is the purpose of life, we should pray to God to make us God, dogs and hawks, because these animals are very good facilities for sex life. They also consider sex to be the ultimate goal and then sleep. Rishabha Uvacha, Nayam Deho Deha Bhajam Naloke, Kastan Kaman Arhate Vid Pujam Ye, Tapo Divyam Putraka Yena Sattvam, Shuddhyet Yasmad Brahma Sokyam Tu Anantam. Lord Rishabhadeva told his sons, my dear boys, of all the living entities who have accepted material bodies in this world, one who has been awarded this human form of should not work hard and half day and night simply for sense gratification, which is available even for dogs and hawks that eat stool. One should engage in penance and austerity to attain the divine position of devotional service. By such activity, one's heart is purified and one attains this position is that he attains eternal blissful life, which is transcendental to material happiness and which continues forever. Bhagavatam 5.5.1. Human life is meant for tapasya, for putting an end to sex. This is a process of brahmacharya. Shyamasundar Dasa. For fruit, the sexual energy or libido is not only manifest through sexual intercourse, it is associated with a wide variety of pleasurable sensations related to body activities and including pleasures of the mouth and different organs. Srila Prabhupada, we have already said that the only happiness in this material world is considered to be sexual. Yan Maitunadi, Bhagavatam 7.9.45. The word Adi means the basic principle which in the material world is sex. What is material happiness? Materialistic happiness. It is enjoying this life with one's friends and family. But what kind of pleasure is this? It is compared to a drop of water in the desert. Actually, we are seeking unlimited pleasure. Anandamayo Abhyasat. How can this drop of water in the desert, which is materialistic pleasure, ever satisfy us? No one is satisfied, although people are having sex in so many different ways. And now young girls are almost going naked, and the female population is increasing everywhere. As soon as there is an increase in the female population, the women say, where are the men? Then there then must be disaster because every woman is trying to attract a man and men will take advantage of the situation. When milk is available in the market, what is the use in keeping the cow? The more men become attached to women, the more the female population will increase. Shyamasundar, how is that? Srila Prabhupada, when you have more sex, your power to beget a male child is diminished. When a man is less potent, a girl is born. And when a man is more potent, a boy is born. If a man's discharge is larger, there will be a male child. If the woman's discharge is larger, there will be a female child. When women are easily available, men become weak and they beget female children because they lose their power from over-intelligence. Sometimes they even become impotent. If you don't restrict your sex life, there will be so many disasters. Yamunacharya says, Yadavadi mamacheta Krishna padar vinde navanava rasa damanudayata yata nantum asit tadavadi bata nari sangame smaryamane bhavati mukha vikara sustu nistivanam cha. Since I have been engaged in the transcendental loving service of Krishna, realizing ever new pleasure in him, whenever I think of sex pleasure, I spit at the thought and my lips curl with distaste. Shyamasundara Dasa, Freud would consider this as a form of repression. Srila Prabhupada, his idea of repression is different from ours. Our repression means rising early in the morning, attending Mangalarti, chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and engaging in devotional service. In this way, we repress material propensities. Shyamasundara Dasa. In other words, it's repression with awareness and knowledge. Srila Prabhupada, actual knowledge will come later. In the beginning, there is obedience to the spiritual master. In this way, we will not become habituated to undesirable activity. Shyamasundara Dasa. Yet, by remembering some traumatic or shocking experience, our tensions are often relieved and personality disorders rectified. This is a fact of psychoanalysis. Srila Prabhupada, that may be, but when a seed has fructified and grown into a tree, it is no longer possible to rectify the seed. The seed is no longer there. It has changed into a tree. Fruit may be able to find out the cause, but does he know the cure? Our cure is to divert the attention to Krishna. By understanding Krishna, we automatically forget our problems. Krishna is a panacea for all diseases. Shyamasundara Dasa. Freud also investigated projection, that is attributing one's own personality onto others. The man may disregard others as a thief because he is a thief himself. Srila Prabhupada, we accept that Atmana Manyate Jagat. Everyone thinks others to be like themselves, like himself. Shyamasundar Dasa. Freud also felt that children act in different ways to win the love and affection of their parents. Srila Prabhupada. Children imitate. In Agra, I have seen 2 and 3 year old children try to imitate sexual intercourse of their parents. They did not know anything about sex pleasure, but they were imitating what they had seen. Children do not know the value of things, but they imitate their parents. There is no fixed pattern of development for the personality of children. You can mold children in any way. They are like soft dough, and you can make out of them what you like. All you have to do is put them into the mold. Many of the neuroses Freud talked about are not experienced in Indian families. If you place a child in good association, he will act properly. And if you place him in bad association, he will act improperly. A child has no independence in that sense. Shyamasundar Dasa. Freud believed that our behavior must be understood in terms of our entire life history. Ila Prabhupada, that is so. Therefore, in our Vedic system, it is forbidden for the husband and wife to speak of sex even jokingly before a small child, because the child cannot understand. If children know sexual intercourse, it is because they have learned about it from their parents. Agriva Dasa. Although often avoiding the very subject of religion, Freud sometimes took an agnostic stand. He writes, of the reality value of most religions we cannot judge, just as if they cannot be proved, neither they can be refuted. Srila Prabhupada, first of all, he does not know what religion is. As we have said, religion means the orders given by God. Since he has no conception of God, how can he know anything of God's orders? He is acquainted only with fictitious religions which have been described in Srimad Bhagavatam as Kaitava, cheating religions. Real religion is law. Just you cannot manufacture laws in your home, you cannot manufacture religion. Agriva Freud further writes, the riddles of the universe only reveal themselves slowly to our inquiry. To many questions, science as yet gives no answer. But scientific work is the only way to the knowledge of external reality. No, science is an illusion. Science is no illusion. But it would be an illusion to suppose that we can get anywhere else what it cannot give us. Srila Prabhupada, first of all, we have to learn that the object of knowledge is what the object of knowledge is. The word Veda means knowledge and Anta means ultimate. Unless you come to the ultimate point of knowledge or Vedanta, your knowledge is imperfect or insufficient. The ultimate object of knowledge is God, and if we cannot define God or explain His nature, we have not reached the ultimate point of knowledge. God is a fact, but unfortunately, we have no clear idea of Him. This means our knowledge has not reached the ultimate point. It is imperfect. The knowledge of a philosopher or a scientist is imperfect. Of what value it is? According to the Vedic method, we receive our knowledge from the perfect person, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Agrivadasa. As for the origin of religions, Freud writes, as it is a delicate task to decide what God has himself ordained and what derives rather from the authority of an powerful parliament or a supreme judicial decision, it would be an indubitable advantage to leave God out of the question altogether and to admit honestly the purely human origin of all cultural laws and institutions. Srila Prabhupada, God does not derive power from anyone. As stated in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, Janmadi Asya Yato Anyaya Itaras Anyayatras Titaratas Arteshu Abhignaya Swarat. Bhagavatam 1.1.1. The Supreme God, the Absolute Truth, knows everything in complete detail. The word Abhignya means complete awareness. How is it God has complete knowledge? From whom has He received this knowledge? The answer is Swarat. He does not receive it from anyone. He is completely independent. If God has received knowledge from me, from Mr. Fruit, he is not God. God is the only person who is completely independent. न तस्य कार्यं कारणं च विद्यते न तत् समस् च अभ्यादिकश्च दृश्यते Parashya Saktir Vividaiva Sruti Shruyate Swabhaviki Jnana Balakriyacha. He does not possess bodily form like that of an ordinary living entity. There is no difference between his body and his soul. He is absolute. All his senses are transcendental. Any one of his senses can perform the action of any other sense. Therefore, no one is greater than him or equal to him. His potencies are multifarious, and thus his deeds are automatically performed as a natural sequence. Svetashvatara Upanishad 6.7 to 8. God is naturally all perfect and he doesn't have to adopt some process in order to become perfect. Anyone who's trying to be perfect is not God. When Krishna was only 3 months old, he could kill the big giant Putana. His potencies are there automatically whether he appears as a child or as a young man. Nowadays, so-called yogis are trying to become God by meditating. But Krishna did not have to meditate. If God is always God, he doesn't have to learn anything from anyone. That is the true meaning of independence. If you want to know something about God, we should really receive knowledge from him directly, not from a person who knows him. This is the direction given in Bhagavad Gita. Tadviti pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. The word Tattva Darshina refers to one who factually knows about God. It is necessary to learn about God from one who has seen him eye to eye. Arjuna, for instance, was talking to God on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. If we wish to understand God, we should understand him as Arjuna did. What was Arjuna's understanding? That is found in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Param Brahma Param Dhamma Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Tastatam Divyam Adi Devam Ajam Vibham. Ahustam Rasheha Sarve Devarshi Naradastata Asito Devalo Vyasha Swayam Cheva Bravishimi. You are the Supreme Brahman, the ultimate, the supreme abode and purifier, the absolute truth that and the eternal living, eternal divine person. You are the primal God, transcendental and original, and you are the unborn and all-pervading beauty. All the great sages such as Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa proclaim this of you, and now you yourself are declaring it to me. Bhagavad Gita 10.12 to 13. Hagriva Dasa. Concerning early religious training, Fruit writes, so long as a man's early years are influenced by the religious thought, inhibition, and by the lower one derived from it, as well as by the sexual one, we cannot really say what he is actually like. Fruit strongly believed that early religious education warps a man's natural development. Srila Prabhupada, what is wrong with informing a child that there is a supreme being controlling the whole cosmic situation? Is it that Fruit did not believe in education? Dasa. He felt that children should not be indoctrinated with religious thought inhibitions. But Srila Prabhupada, but there must be some form of education, and spiritual education is the most important. The only business of human life is to learn about God. Lower species cannot understand God, but understanding is possible in the human form. Therefore, spiritual education is primary. Haigriva Dasa. Marx called religion the opiate of the people, and Fruit similarly said that the consolations of religions may be compared to a narcotic. As I have said before, neither Marx nor Freud know what religion is, and that is their difficulty. First, they have to learn what religion is before they can discuss it intelligently. Agrivadasa. Freud writes, the believer will not let his faith be taken from him neither by arguments nor by prohibitions. And even if it succeeds with some, it would be a cruel thing to do. A man who has for decades taken a sedative is naturally unable to sleep if he is afraid of it. Srila Prabhupada. It is also cruel to mistreat people by telling them that God the Father is simply an infantile conception. That is real cruelty. It is cruel to stress sex and death and deny the conception of God as the Supreme Father. Fruit would not think that it is cruelty to disenchant man of the illusion. He writes, I disagree with you when you go on to argue that man cannot in general do with the consolation of religious illusion. That without it, he would not endure the troubles of life, the cruelty of reality. So I need to leave for another meeting. From here, can somebody take over?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much for reading, Ribol, and thank
Thank
you.
you so much for your association.
Again, Prabhu. Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. You have pages.
Oh, yes, I can carry on.
Yes, Prabhu. You can read pages.
Okay, let me just disconnect here. Okay. Srila Prabhupada, without a spiritual education, man remains an animal. A man's life should be more than merely eating, sleeping, mating, defending, and dying. Men should strive to advance in spiritual knowledge. Spiritual education means understanding God. Freud? Freud may deny the existence of God, but in any case, the conception of God is there in human society. One may accept or reject different conceptions of God, but the fact is undeniable that in every civilized country there is some form of religion. One may be Christian, Buddhist, Hindu, or Muslim. The designation is not very important. Understanding God is the important factor because that ultimate understanding is Vedanta, the ultimate conclusion of all knowledge. Ata, ataha, Atato Brahma Jininasa Vedanta Sutra. Now, in this human form, is the time to inquire what is Brahman? Brahman, the absolute truth, is the goal of real knowledge. Men Men does not have to be educated to understand sex. According to a Bengali proverb, you do not have to be taught how to cry or how to enjoy sex. When you lament, you automatically cry, and when there is the impulse to enjoy sex, you enjoy it automatically. This does not require the help of an educator like Mr. Feud. Everyone, animals and human beings everyone, animals and human beings know how to enjoy sex. There is no question of a sex philosophy. Philosophy means inquiring into the absolute truth, Brahman, the supreme controller, he from whom everything has emanated. Philosophy is concerned with understanding where things come from. We may inquire into the origin of life on earth and conclude that life comes from water, earth, or fire. Then where do earth, water, and fire come from? He who is the source of everything is the absolute truth. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhov mataha sarvam pravarate iti madva prajate mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who knows this perfectly engages in my devotional service and worships me with all their hearts. Bhagavad Gita 10 to 8. You become a devotee of Krishna when you perfectly understand that Krishna is the ultimate source. This knowledge comes after many lifetimes of searching and searching. Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jannavan Mampra Prapadye Vasudeva Sarvam Iti Mahatma Sudra Laboha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in the knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes, and all that is such a great soul is very rare. Bhagavad Gita 7 to 19. After understanding that Vasudeva Krishna is everything, the Mahatma, the great soul, begins his bhajana, his worship. Mahatmanas tu mam prata, daivam praktim ashirita, bhajantai, ananya manaso, Gyanatva Buddhatim Advanyayam. O son of Preta, those who are not deluded, the great souls are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustibly. Bhagavad Gita 9 to 13. Freud admits that without religion, man will find himself in the difficult situation. He will He will have to confess his utter helplessness and his insignificance, more like fraud, but insignificance, part in the working of the universe. Yet he goes on to say that without religion, men will venture at last into the hostile world, and this venture is his education to reality. And what service has Mr. Is it fraud rendered? He has misled the world and made it more difficult for people to accept the words of God. Men who are innocent accept the words of God, but now many have become over intelligent and think they think that sex is God. It will take some time to counteract this type of mentality, but men must even, yes, you can go down, Prabhu. Men must even, eventually learn that his happiness is found in understanding and accepting the way of life defined by God Himself. Christ pointed out that unless one becomes as a little child, he shall not enter in the kingdom of God. But fraud advocates growing up and setting this illusion aside. He may advocate so many things, but if he does not know the meaning of God or God's nature, what is the value of his knowledge? According to According to the Vedic philosophy, we should receive knowledge from a person who knows God. If one has not known God, his knowledge is useless or even worse, misleading. It is a fact. It is a fact that there is a supreme controller, and the real education means understanding how the supreme controller is working. Denying him is useless. He is there beyond our control, and we cannot avoid his control. We may make plans to live here very happily, but today or tomorrow we may die. How can we deny that the fact that we are being controlled? Knowledge means understanding how the supreme controller is controlling. People who defy religion and deny the existence of a supreme controller are like the jackal that keeps jumping and jumping, trying to reach grapes on a high vine. Is it vine? After seeing that he cannot reach the grapes, he says to himself, "Oh, there's no need to reach them. They are sour anyway." A defense mechanism. They are sour anyway. People who say that we do not need to understand God are indulging in sour grapes philosophy. Huh.
Yes, Prabhu. This is amazing.
And that's how people are designed. Hey, if you cannot do something, you bash it out instead of trying to find help.
Yeah, here's the picture of the fox.
Oh, let me take a screenshot.
It is sour anyways.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Srila Prabhupada has some bars, eh? The fox and the grapes.
Libo. Yes, Prabhu, that was super much. Okay, tomorrow is the last one. I think this is the last.
Chapter, how many pages left? 60? Somewhere there?
Like 20 or
Oh,
15.
20.
We can finish tomorrow.
Yes. And I was watching one of those videos, Prabhu, yesterday. The Europe tour. I found that Vid Prabhu's one, but it's still the same tour that we were watching.
Yes, Prabhu. Where it was? Was it ISKM TV?
Yes, it is ISKM. But it's under Tadvid, I think. Tadvid Prabhu.
So is it Tadvait Prabhu's own channel?
Yes.
Okay, yes, Prabhu. Okay, Haribo, let's chant Shiksastakam prayers. Cheto
Yes.
Panamarjanam Pavamahadavagninirvapanam Shreyah Kairavachandrika Vitaranam Vityavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipadam Purnamritasvadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam.
Namnam akari bahuda nija sarva shakti statra pita nimyata smarane nakalaha etadrishi tvavakripa bhagavan mamapi durdaivam edrisha ahai nanuragraha.
Trinatapi sunitsena tarorapi sakis nunam amanina manadena kirtaniya sada hari.
Nadanam na janam na sundarim kavitam vacha kadisha kamaye mama janmani janmanishvare bhavatat bhaktirahaitu kitvai.
Ainandam tanuja kinkaram patitam mam vishame bhavam bodau kripatvava pada pakanjaya stitadu lisadrisham vichintaya.
Nayanam galatasrudalaya badanam gadgada drudaya jiram ulakais nitsitam vaputkada tava nama grahane babhisyanti.
Yugaitam nimeshena chakshusha pravirshaitam shunyaitam jagat sarvam govinda virahena me.
Asislyava padaratam pinastumam adresanam marmam hatam karotuva yatata dava vidatu lampato matrana natastu sa eva narpana.
Haribol. Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. The Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious.
O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Oh my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them.
One should chant the holy name of the Lord in an humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of all prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly.
Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful woman, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth.
O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal savior, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet.
O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the earth and my body stand on end at the recitation of your name?
O Govinda, feeling your separations, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence.
I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipable Lord unconditionally.
Haribol, Sri Siksastakam ki jai.
Jai.
And
To
then
blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives for propagating the holy name.
Haribol.
To consider the names of the demigods like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma to be equal or independent of the names of the Lord Vishnu.
Consider, no. To disobey the orders
It,
of the master, consider him as an ordinary man.
to blaspheme, I think to blaspheme the Vedic scriptures or scriptures in preference to the Vedic version.
To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination.
To interpret the holy names of the, is it to interpret the holy names? To give some interpretation to the holy names. And to commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name.
Yes, Prabhu. 8.1. To consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic ceremonies which are offered in the Vedas as fruitive activities, karma kanda. To instruct the faithless person about the glories of the holy name. Not have faith To not have faith in chanting and to maintain materialistic attachments even after understanding so many injunctions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must guard against these offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success. Krishna Prema. Panchakalpatarupyascha kripa sindhubhya
वत्सपतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः
Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Nanda Gaudiya Vaishnavinda ki jai, Shila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaura Pre- Hari Hari Bol.